North Carolina State Highway Patrol.
What cigarette do you smoke, Doctor?
A contributing factor to our juvenile delinquency of today.
Rock and roll has got to go.
And welcome back to the Hometown Holler. I'm Daniel Ayers.
And I'm Quinn Ray.
Well, hey, man.
Word got out.
About what?
A while ago on the show, we told folks that
you're an award-winning author of a truffle book?
Oh, man, dude, I'm not prepared to go there today.
Okay.
I'm not prepared to go there. That's its whole podcast series. The truffle book, the truffle adventure.
Yes.
But yeah, I am an award-winning author of a truffle book.
Yes, you are.
God, that's so funny. Man, you were waiting for that one.
Yes, I was. Cause I felt like the other day when we did started the show and you asked me my favorite Pixar short. I was like, this just started, so I was not ready. And so I wanted to get you with something.
That's a deceptively stressful question.
It
is. What's
is.
your favorite Pixar short? Right?
Yes.
Because we all have. We've seen them. Mm-hmm. And it says a lot about a person.
Yes, it does.
Know? Well, what I was going to say is that word got out that, a while ago on the pod, we told folks that one of our top fans, the amazing Stanley Donahue, gifted us a bottle of whiskey. And we sent out a call to friends, future guests, if they really, really wanted to become BFFs of the Holler to come.
It takes whiskey.
It takes whiskey. Something.
Kidding, it doesn't.
Something in a glass bottle.
Yeah, fair.
And we had our first guest take us up on it.
Yeah.
Dude came into the studio about 10 minutes ago and had a bottle with clear liquid and a bottle with amber liquid and let us choose.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
friends,
today we are talking with our new friend and beverage connoisseur, Jacob Brooks. Jacob's on the Holler today, to talk about his work as I was going to say you're the North Carolina State Director, but you just told me you got a promotion.
That's right, man. I am now the National Director of the Great Economy Project.
So the National Director of the Great Economy Project, which is an initiative spearheaded by the Patriotic Millionaires. So those are an organization.
I'm pouring, by the way.
Yeah, pour ahead. So
you guys are talking. I'm going.
You're. I thought you were saying you're poor.
Oh, I am poor. Yeah. That's part of how they found me.
He's not a millionaire.
That's
he
right.
just
Oh yeah, let's do some of this.
You just work for the millionaires.
Part of the charm, yeah. But you got some Clyde Mays there. I also bought a bottle of Terramana tequila.
That's the Rocks, right?
That's the Rock, man. That's the GOAT. I'm hopeful that he'll see that, and when he gets elected president, he will.
I think the Rock would have to be on the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. I was a big wrestler fan growing up, dude.
There's a great
I'm gonna do a story.
We lived in a basement. It was my granddad and dad built it. Mm-hmm. And
I'm sorry, you said you lived in a basement? I was too busy sipping this amazing whiskey.
Yeah, well, hey man.
Let's back up. You grew up in a basement.
Grew up in a basement. It was the house. First house was a single wide trailer.
Whereabouts? Is it North Carolina?
Ennis.
Okay.
Ennice.
That's Allegheny.
Allegheny County, baby. Mm-hmm. Home of the Trojans.
Man, Daniel, that was good. That was really good.
Well, we actually hung out a couple weeks ago at Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for it, man.
Of course, man.
We were in Raleigh, and we were talking about that neck of the woods. I went up and camped at Stone Mountain in 2020. It was like my pandemic hiking trip.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful part of the world.
Oh, yeah. You can't beat Stone Mountain. Mm-hmm. That's just it's a gorgeous slice of history and place. Place to grow up. There's nothing there. So it's
that's why I went.
Yeah, when you leave, because my folks didn't go to school. Dad was a laborer, drove a truck. Mom, the smartest woman in the world. She has since passed, but she had a very difficult childhood. All the men in my family that were of age were drafted in Vietnam. So we are the quintessential, when Ken Burns talks about the poor folks of America that served in that war. That was my family. So my papaw Jerry, I
had a papaw too. You are from North Carolina.
Oh yeah, man. I'm born and bred. This is Piedmont Electric country too.
Yeah, right.
So I've rode in the Carolina country for a very long time. The magazine that the co-ops send out. But no, man, I'm North Carolina born and bred. Excited to be here.
Well, thanks for coming.
No, man, I'm curious about you guys.
This is cool. I usually have a whole spiel. We usually have a whole spiel we do as an intro, but this was cool to just dive right into to the back and forth.
That's right.
And one thing I mentioned to you right as we were setting up was your employer, the Patriotic Millionaires. I think this organization is fascinating. It's fascinating to me for a number of reasons. One of them because, if you and I were to walk outside and like we have a bar next door, or we go over to Dick and Jane's and get a martini, or in Quinn's case, an espresso martini.
That's
probably.
right.
And somebody says, "Oh, Jacob, what do you do for a living?" And you say, "Well, I work for Patriotic Millionaires." They probably think you're
MAGA.
Yeah, exactly,
right. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, but it's not a MAGA organization.
It is not at all. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit. The policies we put forth tend to be supported by folks more on the left. There are some comical moments where I think in recent years you've had some folks who are on the right who have sort of reasoned their way into how do we solve the issue of funding governance and the things that we do, because as you know, conservatives like to complain about the deficit.
Yeah.
Saying, we're $36 trillion in debt. How are we going to get out of this? Well, the answer is you raise taxes and you cut spending. That's the only way. That's how government is funded.
Oh, you mean it's not trying to find fraud, then cutting taxes, and then just making sure that Meemaw doesn't get her Social Security check?
That's right. That's where all the waste is going. Absolutely. So, So Erica is our founder and principal. She started this organization called the Patriotic Millionaires, and right now we have over 200 high net worth folks who are saying the tax system is broken. You should be taxing us more.
So it's not like a metaphor or symbolic. Like the members of this are millionaires, high net worth people.
They are. That's right. They are, and they are patriotic. They love their country.
Yeah.
Like they want to see their country operate effectively. Like governance costs money.
Yeah.
In order for us to have the privileges that we have,
Right.
like the roads, the bridges.
Nice things don't come for free.
Exactly. Like you need a tax base and you need a tax revenue. And you have, I had dinner the other night with one of our members, and he was saying, yeah, Jacob, I don't pay into Social Security. I don't pay into Medicaid. I don't pay into Medicare. And I am paid by the rents that come forward, through my rental properties. And it's perfectly legal. All the maneuvers that
That's wild.
It's wild. I mean, Tom Segura has even talked about like all the legal maneuvers he makes on his, Your Mother's House or whatever it is. Like, it is. Yeah, Your Mother's House was what that one was on. And he was just like, yeah, these are all legal maneuvers. And then you've got ordinary quote unquote millionaires who have either by way of inheritance or by way of how they've built their businesses. The tax code, as they have accumulated their wealth, they have now pierced the veil and seen into a world where they can deduct, maneuver, hide, like whatever it is to avoid paying taxes.
That's one of the things that's just kind of, I think fucked up about the situation is those maneuvers, and I think we talked about it on one of the previous podcasts. They're not available to the everyday citizen. And if they were, like, if they technically are, but they're hidden. The average American is not seeing how the tax code and stuff works.
Well, yeah, I frankly, I've like tried to quote unquote study this, right? I have no idea how our tax system
works. And if everybody used these maneuvers to hide, shift, put money somewhere else, we wouldn't have governance.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and the reality is it's not available to the average person because the average person hasn't accumulated the wealth in order to do the maneuvers that you can do.
Because you need a lawyer? Or is it you need like a really sophisticated tax attorney?
Well, there's like the charitable deductions.
Okay.
Like where you can deduct the amount you have given in gifts to an extent, like maybe by way of out of your personal pocket or foundation to negate whatever income you made that year. So that you can report a net loss and then not pay.
But that's still just middle America, right? I mean, we can get in a whole topic about what middle America is because I think everybody, even some of these patriotic millionaires, might say, I'm upper middle class. They might not say that they're upper class. But regardless of that, I think, but I'll use myself as an example. Like my wife and I, we have one commercial property. We have a small business. We don't make money at all, but
you cover costs.
We cover costs, but having an LLC and then working with nonprofits, like there's stuff that opens up to you that we could use. But man, I'm like Daniel said, I'm trying to look and see and where it can work, and it's not just layman's terms. Like here you go, you got to have money to pay somebody that knows the ropes.
That's right. And Bob Lord and I get the privilege of let me just disclaim, I am not a tax law expert. I am trying to be. I made a B-, I think, in my tax law class at UNC. Shout out to the Tar Heels. Shout out to Kathleen Thomas.
That qualifies you to comment on some Reddit forums, though.
That's right. I could. I would rather lurk on the Reddit forums and just read.
In the shadows.
And, yeah, just be a hovering intel officer.
I'm a voyeur, too. It's okay.
Yeah, it's wild. But, look, I gave you look, I'll show you the 2 books here that they put out.
Yeah.
Pay the People. I don't know what camera I'm looking at. Hello, cameras.
Now, you got that
This
one and
right
that
here.
one.
Let's do that one. Yeah.
Excellent. Pay the People, Tax the Rich. You can pick these up. Tax the Rich talks about the broken tax system.
Okay.
It's honestly a cheat code if you want to figure out how to make a fortune and hide a bunch of money. You know, there's also that. But
Might be taking that home tonight.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a call to
tax
reform
season.
Tax season. And Pay the People talks about, we're pushing for the idea. I mean, we dabble in modern monetary theory. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Enlighten us.
I'm trying to remember.
Oh, you don't have to either. I know
Yeah.
B-.
I feel like I read the Wikipedia page at one point in time.
Essentially, one of the thesis is the deficit doesn't matter.
Right. Yes.
We're at
Right,
such
right.
a point to
It
where
doesn't
we are
matter.
essentially in a standoff where, China relies on us to buy the cheap goods they produce in order to keep their economy going.
Right. Everybody's interlocked. We have this really.
exactly.
Oh, yeah, the
enmeshed-
global economy, that ship has sailed. Anybody that thinks we can stop that, they're fooling
That's
themselves.
right. I know. You know what? And it fires me up when I don't understand why Democrats haven't figured out how to message around that, particularly with the label of globalist that gets thrown at Democrats to keep some of that base in fear of like the American identity is going to go away by these Democrats who are globalists. But man, if I was a globalist and I wanted to subvert American power in the country and stance, the first thing I would do would be to start a monetary system that would be digital and undermine the U.S. like the American dollar as the reserve system. I mean, that's the one.
That sounds like Bitcoin.
Yeah, right.
Sounds like crypto.
It sounds like crypto, right? I mean, if you want to,
It's blockchain, bro. It's safe.
yeah. And
I think crypto is just astrology for frat bros. That's my take on. I
mean, we're coming in with some hot takes.
No, we
on a
are.
Saturday morning.
And
There's not
look,
enough whiskey.
blame Jacobs. He's the guy bringing the Clyde Mays. I will be crypto skeptic until I see practical philanthropic uses of crypto.
Well, and what I mean, with the blockchain, the idea that there's this elongated sort of ledger, all it's going to take is certain folks in power to subvert one of the transactions in the blockchain. Like at some point, someone can dismantle that argument by saying, "Oh well, whatever transaction was made that is this asset record of these crypto unit, whatever." Someone's just going to get angry who's got enough power to subvert something along the line, something that happened in the blockchain.
Yeah, imagine if Elon Musk was in charge.
Yeah,
of,
right.
You know, like as soon as he gets pissy, he's just gonna.
That's right. He and Cuban have a transaction. Something goes down, and then suddenly, he slanders or whatever Cuban, and then devalues the currency. But good news. Part of the North Carolina pension now bill going through that.
Right, that's Destin Hall's baby.
Destin Hall's baby, fellow Western North Carolinian.
So for folks who are just not catching this story, Speaker Destin Hall has announced that North Carolina needs to diversify its holdings so that our retirees, our state workers, can enjoy some crypto in their pension funds now.
Does it have to go through legislature though? I thought Brad Briner, the treasurer, could just say this is what we're going to do, but the GA has to say, yeah, do it.
I don't know. I just
Actually,
know that
yeah,
Destin Hall is a champion of this.
Oh, I think
just
he
know
might
that
be a
he's
champion.
He's a
'Cause I
vocal
knew
supporter.
Briner when he was running, and then once he got elected, was like, yeah, we need to put some of this in the crypto. And full transparency here, I have a little bit into the crypto. I don't know shit about it.
Yeah, dude,
When
I have
say
like
a little
$20
bit-
in Ethereum.
Yeah, I have $100 in Ethereum and XLR or X. I don't even fucking know.
I'm going full mountain Great Depression baby, like because we grew up in that because you're so removed from the rest of the world. Now it's so. I tell everyone I was born in '91 but raised in 1970.
Sure.
So
I mean, you got the
think-
Greg Allman look.
That's what I'm talking
100%,
about.
man.
I think I'm just going to go back to putting the cash in the can. So growing up in the basement, my brother and I we were naturally roughhouse. We were young mountain boys, and that's what we do.
Who can hold the figure 4 the longest?
That's right. Shout out to Ric Flair. Josh
I
and
got a
would
dick
be,
pic of them, by the way.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty
Really?
wild. Yeah. I hate to interrupt your story.
So I was
on
like,
that.
Dude's telling a great story, and then you're like, oh, I have a dick
That's
pic
hard
of
to-
Ric Flair,
that's
and I'm
hard
like,
to
now
top,
I
man.
can't.
Dude,
great
story.
30 seconds.
30
seconds.
All right,
Quinn.
so my
Ride
fr- my
Space Mountain all night long.
my friend is the sister to Mark Bryan. Mark Bryan is a guitar player for Hootie and the Blowfish.
Right.
Hootie and the Blowfish are.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. They're having a damn. They always do a thing down in Charleston every year.
Sure.
Well, Ric Flair went down to Charleston. Well, friend met up with Ric Flair. They started hooking up. He sent her a picture of him standing in front of a mirror with his wang.
Wow.
Right. Boom.
Okay.
Takes a pic. She sends it to us. I'm calling bullshit on it. Right. I'm like, I don't believe this.
No way, yeah.
Well, Sergeant Slaughter lives in
Oh
Burlington.
my gosh.
Sergeant
Don't
Slaughter.
we have his action figure here in the
I do.
studio?
Sitting right
behind-
there.
That's right.
He
Sergeant Slaughter.
he comes to my restaurant. When I was at the restaurant all the time, and me and Sarge are friends. And so I went up to Sarge. I was like, Sarge, will you tell me if this is Ric Flair's dick? And
Oh my God.
And then Sarge goes, all right. And so I showed him the picture, and he goes, that's Rick, all right. It looks like it got hit with a ball-peen hammer.
Jesus.
and then I was like, well, how did you know what Rick's thing looked like, Sarge? He's like, well, we were doing this event in Greensboro, and we all came to the Curry Convention Center.
Oh, it was Greensboro.
And
It was
afterwards,
Greensboro.
Rick came in with a little, radio and just opened up the hotel door and threw his robe off and was just standing there swinging the thing. So that's how I know what it looks like.
Phenomenal.
Wow.
Incredible that you're friends with Sergeant Slaughter, which one of the best heel turns of all time.
Dude,
Going-
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, doesn't get better than that. Suddenly,
During the
like,
Gulf War, just
Gulf War,
losing
I'm
it.
going full Middle Eastern, tap into American pride.
The thing that stinks about Sarge's legacy is he was only a WWF world champ. It was WWF at the time, world champ once, and it was for like 25 days.
Yeah. That's similar to Glenn Jacobs and Kane. He had a short one, but he's one of those stalwarts that was just always in the locker room and like you could count on for. I mean, I would say.
And now Kane's a politician.
Now Kane is a politician. He's
He's a mayor.
That's right. He's the mayor of the county, though. So he's not mayor of Knox. I didn't know that. I actually had a friend in law school who worked on that campaign. And I'll confess, I'm still a Glenn Jacobs fan. I'm not totally in line with where he is.
There is a
on
weird,
national-
wrestling pipeline to politics.
All right. Okay. You guys ready for my grand
Yes,
theory?
let's do it.
All right. All right, let me finish this rock story real quick. So we Josh and I, we were just constantly wrestling. We had a trampoline, like we were doing ladder matches. We were doing the whole thing. We were going to be the next Hardy Boys. Except
Chutes and ladders.
That's right. We realized a lot of that shit hurt. So we let's go shoot.
After
some
your
guns
fourth
and-
ER visit.
That's right. Let's go shoot guns and ride four-wheelers or something. Anyway, my brother and I shared a room all through our childhood. I mean, it was a basement. It was like 1,000 square feet. It was tiny for a family of four. And anyway, we would, at one point, we're wrestling, and I like throw him up against the sheetrock wall. And so we obviously bust the sheetrock.
Yeah.
Not
Awesome.
a full hole, but like it's good and cracked.
But it was cool.
It's cool. So we take my poster of The Rock that I got at Walmart, which is him. He's got the eyebrow raised, and it's one of those it's like probably like 98, 99.
Yeah.
And it says, do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
At the time, he just had
Yeah.
the Texas Longhorn. That was
Exactly. We put that over the damaged wall.
It. Mom and Dad ain't
Like your
saying it.
prisoners cutting a hole in the wall to escape. Like, oh, the warden will never see
God,
this.
My mother was the best. She knows it's there, but she's going to cover for us because my dad, God love him, like when he's ready to give us an ass whooping, he was ready to give us
Yeah.
an ass whooping, and those hurt. So we cover it up, and it wasn't for 4 years before he ever found out.
Oh, that's
that
so
behind
good.
The Rock poster that's in the hallway, by the way. This is not
So he's
like
passing it all the time.
right by his bedroom, just like walking by it. Okay, here's my other theory, and then I should probably
Shout
talk
out to
about-
The Rock being the MVP.
Oh, yeah.
Protecting you from an ass whooping.
It was a phenomenal moment in my childhood. I'll say this because I feel like I'm in good company because I'm seeing like Christopher Hitchens,
Yeah, man.
Shelby Foote, the Bill Powell Encyclopedia of North Carolina with the Bill Friday shout out. There's a little Elton John figure here. So I feel like they're naturally.
You're at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to the Holler.
And I think men right now, particularly in the South, or just in our culture, there is an idea that we should probably continue to reckon with our history and our place in the world. So, but there was a real moment in my childhood where I'm like, to be totally candid, like wearing the little Dixie Outfitters T-shirts
Sure.
with the little rebel flag on it, because that's what I saw the men in my life doing.
You had a little rebel in you.
Yeah, but at the same time, I worship Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I was like, oh my, that guy was the coolest.
Yeah.
Him and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but
Oh, you're totally in that attitude era.
yeah, man. And so it was just like, to think about that place in time and where I grew up and the childhood and just where I was. But, Western North Carolina is not, the Appalachian region. Again, this is my crusade of why I encourage folks to not get their impression of Appalachia and the people of Appalachia only through J.D. Vance, because he is not giving us the best name.
I heard a lot of Ashley Furnitures is pulled out since.
Yeah. Western North Carolina has a very checkered past as it relates to the Civil War. I mean, because
It's a very proud past in many ways.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a unionist region.
That's why we have Union Baptist churches
Right.
still. There's Southern Baptist churches and Union Baptist churches up in the mountains. And so it was just such the lens of going through high school, being fortunate enough to go to college, being fortunate enough to get out, move to Nashville for a while, go to law school, move to the Virgin Islands, be back in Raleigh, doing all these, like, I am in a place where I'm reflecting and thinking about who I am, what I want to do, what I want to accomplish. And it's hard to not, even now with the news that, of course, this happens when Griffin was in college, and the news that's come out about him and the Confederate flag stuff. I can't help but think about, like, the middle school Jacob who was trying to figure out who he was.
Sure.
Figure out, like, where's my clique? What group do I fit in? But at the same time, my closest friends were
doing it.
Yeah, they were doing it. But I also, my Hispanic friends who were migrant workers whose family would come to the mountains to work the Christmas tree harvest and then go to Florida for the second half of the year to work oranges in Florida. And then they would come back around the fall Christmas tree season, and they would be there until January, February, and then go back to, Florida. So it was a really interesting place to grow up, which leads to somehow I've got a poster of The Rock on the wall while simultaneously busting out a Dixie Outfitters T-shirt with lawnmower racing pictures on the back. So
Yeah, it's wild how that works. I had a guy that worked at the restaurant. He came in high school. He was like 16 years old at the time, and he would wear these shirts. He was what you would call a redneck, right? Lived in the rural county of Alamance, and came in. Always would have like a rebel flag on his shirt or something. And I was like, dude, like we just can't wear that here at the restaurant and stuff.
Right.
And he just didn't understand it. He wasn't combative, really.
Just didn't click.
No, he just didn't. So to your point, when you're in your adolescence and that's all you've been around and stuff, he had no clue that it made some of our other coworkers feel weird.
Yeah, you have no idea the signal you're sending out when you grow up in a culture.
And when it's not told to you.
That's exactly. But and the men that you're around who have the cool truck, who have the cool shotgun on the rack in the truck, who generally have a pretty
Dukes and Hazzard was fucking cool.
Dukes of Hazzard was cool as shit.
Yeah,
and
Well, also just like we in this, it's so American to pull for the underdog, and I think that's one thing that is commonly overlooked when we talk about Southern history, right? Is especially the Confederacy, right? It's commonly portrayed as like this scrappy underdog. And when people watch Star Wars, they pull for the rebels.
Yeah.
And I think that's, when you're a kid.
the Confederates were not the rebels.
No, what I'm
in my Jedi comparison.
Oh no. What I'm saying is that when you're a kid growing up, right, and you're in this culture that is, telling you to like your heart beats a little faster for the underdog.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get wrapped up in something that you later look back on, and you're like, oh, this was actually not history.
They
were trying to fight for slavery.
I don't want to say I was lied to, but I was not given the full picture.
That's right. That's exactly right. You're not given the full picture. And I had to get away.
But Jefferson Griffin in college knew the full picture.
So I want to.
I would hope he's a little more.
So some context for this, right? So we're recording this when it's just been revealed that Jefferson Griffin, the sore loser of sore losers, the dude contesting the 2024 election, that he lost. He's lost it like 4 times now. I don't know how many times.
Recounts,
yeah. And dude won't let it go. So it comes out that in the early 2000s, he and his fraternity, I think it was the KAs.
KAs at UNC.
The KKKAs.
I don't know what that is. I don't know. I'm not a Greek guy.
I'm just saying, when I was in school, the KAs were like, in my opinion, that was the real douchey frat at my school.
Okay.
They were the mean
I
ones
don't
to
know much
me.
about it.
It was a lot of Connecticut Yankees who wanted to do like Confederate cosplay.
Oh, okay.
Is what it was in my
that's
school.
a bad idea.
Which is honestly what that photo was. It was
Yeah.
probably, I mean, it was a lot of Yankees doing Confederate cosplay, and Jefferson Griffin is in there. And this is early 2000s, I guess. And then it comes out that in high school, he said that he wanted, his number one dinner guest would have been Robert E. Lee if he could have had dinner with anybody, which, really, that's it? Like, I mean, but okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't really think it's much of a scandal, honestly. I think it's like there's no surprise there.
There's
it's
no
like,
surprise
It's like, yeah, this is
there.
exactly what I would have expected from this dude.
Well, and I think it'd be different if there's pictures and stuff of him running around with a Confederate flag, like really putting it into people's
Yeah.
faces, really doing this thing.
Dude was just being a drunk frat boy.
Right. I mean, well, is it a bad look? Is it something? Sure. But is it something we need to be obsessing about and being like, this is why he shouldn't be a judge? I mean,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to his credit, he has since released a statement saying, "I have grown.
Yeah.
I now know better.
Well-
Looking back on this was a bad idea."
Well, okay,
while simultaneously like not wanting to concede.
So this
an
brings me
election.
to the irony.
Yeah.
That because a lot of people look at it and think, oh, he's a racist. He's all these things, because of his association with
we're
the
allowed to grow.
Confederacy.
Right.
Well, the thing that I found particularly ironic, and that I think is the real point of this, and I did see a meme. The Young Democrats released a meme that I think hammered this pretty well.
so good.
Yeah, it was great. Which was that like Jefferson Griffin is, in high school he's talking about, I want to have dinner with Robert E. Lee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things we could say about Robert E. Lee, and that man was guilty of sedition and treason, and it's a miracle that he didn't spend the rest of his life, in the dry Tortugas in some brig.
Right.
That being said, that dude was not a sore loser. And Jefferson Griffin is like the epitome of a sore loser.
Yeah.
And I just find the irony, right? The irony that, Robert E. Lee, right? The war's over. His army's been crushed. He's defeated. He still had a lot of clout, and he could have kicked and screamed and drugged that out and rendered, just made this country more divided than ever. And continued that division, but he decided to go home and hang up his hat. And then it's just, you look at Jefferson Griffin, and he's out there wasting everybody's time, wasting everybody's attention because he didn't get what he wanted.
Yeah, I will confess, through law school, I'm a part of a group. Well, saying I'm part of a group sounds smoke and mirrory and cloak and baggery.
You hung with some dudes.
That's right. There's Christian legal scholars.
Do y'all have a
McIntyre
signal
Worship.
chat?
No, we do not have a signal chat. Judge Griffin is a mentor in that program. And even when I was clerking with the judiciary at the judges conference in Beaufort, I think, we had a very pleasant exchange. He was so open and kind about it took me some time to find my way in the law after law school. Young man trying to figure myself out. Be patient with yourself, give yourself grace. I was like, wow, that was
insightful.
That was insightful, yeah. And so for this to kind of go the way that it has gone, and how he has contested this election, it does seem counter, at least in my experience, to his character. And I don't know what is happening in the back. If I had to speculate, and there's no one on the record, so this is total speculation, but I would imagine that the party has told him, if you don't folloh through without
100%.
we're not going to fund any chance.
Guaranteed.
I think it's one of two things, right? Either he is just an angry sore loser who is determined to kick and scream and get what he wants at all costs, or he's spineless and is just nodding his head and saying, yes, I'll go to court. Yes, if you'll pay my legal fees, I'll do X,
Or two
Y,
things
Z.
can be true at once.
Or both. Yeah, it's true. He could,
I mean, I think it's
I think it's the latter.
Both but I think it's the latter because I think this has been the GOP playbook. I've said it before.
That's right.
They are putting him as the scapegoat for them to try new things.
And you can tell his heart's not in it.
That's right. He's not out.
He's not out there.
Dude's wife was pregnant, and so all this stress putting through it, they just lost their baby, which is terrible,
that's
right?
horrible.
And
I
so
didn't know
adding
that.
the
That's
stress, I mean, it's absolutely horrible. So I can only imagine, which adds to like, man, you need to grow a backbone and be like, this is wrong, and he knows it's wrong.
Just do the right thing.
And it's just, I'm glad you mentioned that thing about his character. I don't know Judge Griffin. Don't know him. But one of my guys, man, going back to the restaurant, man, this restaurant really brought a lot of things to me. I employed this dude when he was in high school. He went off to college, went to law school, wrote all of his letters for him, recommendations, just graduated and got, passed the bar exam, and he clerks for Judge Griffin.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if you want to name.
Yeah,
names,
we won't name him.
Blink his name in Morse code.
And he was telling me during the election, like leading up to it. So we're talking about like March of 24 or something. That and me and this gentleman would talk politics a lot. Yeah. And I was like, man, how are you working for this guy? Because I know he was like, man, he's good. I like him. He like gives me insightful stuff.
Yeah.
And then this shit, and I just want to call him up and be like, what do you think now? And I've refrained from doing that because I know it's probably not in good jest.
I was recommended for a position in Griffin's chambers and was going through the process, and it didn't work out for different reasons. But there is the level. I think law school allows you to be behind the curtain in a way where, because we're all politicos like you. You get to know these folks who are running for office on an individual basis,
Right.
And so you see things that happen. You see the political spin.
It's so illuminating.
You see exactly. Yeah. You see the press releases. Sometimes you help write the press releases. There's just something about this one that it's just like, okay, man, like this is clearly, as you're saying, Quinn, that playbook was there. Those mechanisms of the big FedSoc arms and the Leonard Leos and how they have funded and positioned and identified areas to challenge and use,
was genius because they have when this doesn't work, this person failed. The party didn't fail.
That's right.
This person failed.
That's
and
right.
we know it's not that like, dude can't be doing this. Even on the rig side, right? Like if it wasn't for the Democratic Party, there wouldn't be any money to help battle this court case.
That's right.
So we know it's the parties right now. So like we need to start calling it like it is. Like Griffin is a loser and the North Carolina GOPs are being losers.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's absolutely right.
But you're nonpartisan, so you don't talk about it much, Jacob.
Well, exactly. I'm nonpartisan, and it's just the right thing to do. My God.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
Just like these patriotic millionaires.
It's like, okay, I got a few theories I got to get through. I want to talk to you about my grand rock theory because I think people are sleeping on it. Have you guys watched Young Rock?
No.
Okay. Young Rock is on NBC. You'll probably have to watch it on Peacock now.
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it?
No, you're talking about Dwayne?
I'm talking about Dwayne. I'm talking about the future president of the United States.
I love your
gotta
affinity for The Rock, bro.
He's got to go through Stephen A. Smith first.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be hard.
No,
I don't know anybody who likes Stephen A. Smith.
Oh man, Stephen A. trying to talk like he would have stuck LeBron in the face, and it was like, bro, Stephen, stop it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
but one of the best at the Gab. Right?
Oh yeah.
No, for sure.
Who figured out the marketing scheme of let me just say inflammatory
Yeah.
things.
Just let me run my mouth and let the money roll in.
Exactly. God, I want to do that.
But your theory on the Young Rock.
So here it is. In the show, The Rock is running for president in 2032. So the premise of the show is set. It's got its current plot of here's a guy it's set in 2032 and he's running for president.
7 years.
And so through the course of the show, it's flashbacks talking about his life, lessons learned, things he wish he would have done differently, how he grew as a man, how he conducts himself. And so
I think I know what you're going to connect.
So it subliminally teaches the viewer, this is how I am as a person. And it also
Conditioning people.
Exactly.
It's like the Apprentice effect, right? You see him doing the role and you think, okay,
psyop.
well, he's presidential material.
Yeah, but it's genius because Dwayne Johnson has a really great reputation as a person.
He does.
I know that, in L.A., which is a place that to maintain a decent relationship and reputation is not easy to do. So in the show, I think he eventually becomes. These are all spoilers, but I hopefully it's enjoyable enough and it's so kitschy, but it's great. In the show, he eventually like gets an ambassador appointment and there's some sort of scandal, but he like demonstrates how he is as a leader. So it's the equivalent of like there's the thinking and the talking class that reads the up and comers. Oh, this is the up and comer of the Democratic Party. This is the up and comer of the Republican Party. Their autobiographical reflection that eventually launches their political career. You know, after they've done. If you're J.D. Vance, you do it right out of Yale. If you're President Obama, you did it after some time in the state senate or whenever he wrote his.
It's the scaffolding.
Exactly. Well, The Rock is like, well, screw that. No one.
Don't have to wrestle.
Yeah, exactly. The people that I'm trying to reach don't have an interest in the political autobiographies. Let me just do it as a sitcom. I think that's genius.
Man, I see what you're doing.
I think that's genius.
The only thing with The Rock that pissed me off was it this year? I mean, there's I like The Rock, right? I like The Rock. I think he's fun. I like some of his movies. He endorsed in 2020, but didn't endorse in 2024. He was like, I'm going to stay out of this and stuff.
He's positioning himself.
I was going to say that would play into your theory.
That he's positioning himself. He's leaving himself the room,
the flexibility.
I mean, I think we're witnessing a man who's coming to terms and seeing what's happening in the Trump administration, going, "Damn, if this guy can do it."
So that brings me to my next point, and thought I would like both of your opinions on this. You know, when we first saw Trump run in 2016,
coming down the escalator,
it's happening. You know, we're getting ready just to get a celebrity, an entertainer. As running, you know,
that's right.
Not nobody of the armed forces, nobody that's worked on this stuff.
A businessman is how most people saw it, but
but I mean, sure,
yes, sure.
And then it started.
He plays one on TV.
People on the left being like, "Well, Oprah could run. Like Oprah would be good." And I was like, "Man, no, I don't want any celebrity. I don't want any of this stuff. I want somebody who's aware of what's happening, that has some experience." And doesn't The Rock not have any of that?
I would just say to you, Quinn, get over it.
I smell what you're cooking.
This is America.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's what we're starting to get to now. Like, it's just going to be a popularity contest.
I think that's exactly right. I think, well, one, the man
kind of fucking sucks.
He's got more Instagram followers than there are people in the country. So,
I mean, but is that how we want to have our metric of president?
I don't know that that's how we want to have our metric of president.
That's how it is.
But I know that that's how it seems to be.
Oh,
right
that
now.
is so gross.
Yeah, I mean, I think
not that I don't think Rock is a good person,
sure,
but I think there's a lot of
and what has now happened. You know, so much of, and I appreciated it, like Andrew Yang when he was running and saying this, like, I want to just go ahead and pick my cabinet and have just this full transparent campaign where folks know
if you
what they're
pick
buying
me,
into.
you're going to get all of these
exactly.
folks. Yeah, that's cool.
There is this ecosystem and a sort of a realization, especially when UNC Law School is a great law school, and I'm so blessed that I got, because I was not the best law student. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I couldn't totally commit to studies. But having said that, like, there is a moment when you kind of realize that there are a lot of really qualified and smart people that can do some of these jobs
and don't want to be in front of the podium.
Yeah. And so sometimes it's not just like, a lot of times the most qualified person for office doesn't run because they don't like the fundraising pieces of it. They don't like the nastiness of the hit pieces and people digging through your past, and you said that one ignorant thing that one time and you feel really bad about it internally and you don't want to be brought up, then it gets brought up.
Oh, it is real, bro.
Oh my God.
It is real. I'm not saying that I am a qualified person to do this,
no.
but I had Governor Cooper call and ask me to run for House. And I told Governor Cooper, no.
That took some cojones out. I'll say that.
Yeah, saying no to the governor, and it's like, I'm cool with what I just don't want to do this campaigning right now.
Yep.
Especially with small families, like maybe later down the line, but no, I just don't want to do it.
Right.
And after doing this podcast and meeting folks and people like you that are working with organizations, people are moving the needle without having to be elected. We need still policy. We still need good legislation. We have to. But there's a lot of other ways to make a community better.
That's right.
But
it gets back to the point, like, you would be great as a candidate. I can see you in the role and doing like what we know, if you're inside enough, you know it's not all like, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene ran just so she could have internet fame. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, she was on American Idol too.
Yeah, exactly. Like just trying to find fame, but not great at the nuance of, oh my God, I've got 300 constituent emails to get through. I need to figure out who do I need to contact over at Parks and Rec about, getting the softball field mowed because the contractor that we hired, something happened. Maybe he went through a divorce, or maybe his parent
Making the
died.
sausage.
The nuances of it.
Exactly. Like, you strike me as a person who would be good at that.
I mean, I've been doing it for 6-7 years.
Right. And there are a lot of folks who would be good at doing that, but they don't want the pain of running because it's so horrible. And so then what happens, like with Yang, like, and I think the Rock, I think there a lot of people have realized this.
Daniel was an OG Yang gang.
I was.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm a big.
I still love Andrew.
I still try to push Erica on UBI and try to talk to her more about UBI, but the organization is very much, and I believe in a livable wage too. I think that makes the most sense. You start to realize, and I think Trump totally removed the veil that, like, you just need to be surrounded by really, really smart people.
Yeah.
And you can, even if you're not surrounded by really smart people who can just keep doing things. Now, I'm not.
That's why I sit beside this dude.
Yeah, exactly. I think you see The Rock would build a team of assassins.
Well, I think what, if we look at the Biden administration and the Trump administration, we can kind of survey those two administrations and understand something that I think is, will maybe never be fixed about American politics, but is really fundamental to understanding how we work, which is that, in most developed countries that have democracies, they have a prime minister and a president. They have a head of state and they have a head of government. Right? I mean, France has a president, but most people don't know that they also have a prime minister.
That's right.
And in Ireland, it's the same. They have a president and a prime minister. And this country, those two
Conor
roles.
McGregor doesn't know that.
Exactly right. I don't think he knows a whole lot.
But he's wanting to run for president.
But in the U.S., those two roles, unfortunately, are fused together. You have to be the head of state. You have to be at the ribbon cuttings. You have to be shaking hands and kissing babies. You have to be something to everybody, right? You have to be a leader, an avatar for the entire country that everybody can look at and see their hopes and dreams and everything, which is what Trump is. That you also have to be an excellent administrator, which is what Biden was. Right. You have to do both those things. You have to. I mean, whereas in France, like we all know President Emmanuel Macron, intentional Macron. We all know that guy. But they also have a prime minister. I couldn't name him. I don't know who the prime minister is. It might be a woman. I have no idea. But the prime minister runs the agenda. Right. Makes sure that the legislation gets moved. And I wish we had a system that would divide those two roles, because in the U.S. is the world's largest and most complex company. And I wish we had a presidential figure who could be the force of personality, and could be the guy who goes on TV and gets the talking points across and hosts the state dinners. And then we had somebody, a prime minister, a majority whip, whatever you want to call them. Maybe that's the vice president's job. I don't know.
Maybe
who cracks necks and cashes checks. Right.
I mean that restructure is going to call for a constitutional amendment.
So
maybe we'll get there,
I mean, I don't think it would ever happen necessarily, but I'm saying I think that's
Yeah.
the kind of structural reformation that I think would make a tremendous amount of difference, and I would like to see.
Well, and the other hurdle there too is you have, I mean, so much of the Republican Party now is sort of fractured into different camps. So like there's the states' rights camp of the Republican Party. There's
like the fascist autocracy.
There's that. Yep, definitely those guys.
Those two things are in conflict.
The constitutional.
Well,
no,
I keep up with Ron Paul. Ron Paul is he's like 90-something years old now, and he's got the Liberty Report that he does every day or something. And he's talking, he's speaking out against the Trump administration because he's like, this is not a libertarian agenda.
That's right, exactly.
And then his comment threads are just like, get on the MAGA train or get off, you old man. People hate him within his own party.
Well, but they also hate the administrative state.
Yes, absolutely.
They hate.
Because they don't understand it.
That's right. Like country grows now to 350 million. You might need to expand agencies and government departments in order to execute on governance.
They don't freaking get it, man.
It's so strange.
Well, even at the local level, like we're getting ready to maybe purchase a new building because we're growing.
In Elon? Yeah, y'all growing
and they're
fast.
just like, man, this is a waste of taxpayer dollars. You're just wasting my money, and like we might have to hire more employees, right? That's just being requested upon us. Budget season's coming, and people are losing their shit, just being like, you're just wasting my tax dollars. And it's like, do you want your trash to be every 2 weeks or every 1 week?
That's right.
You know, what do you want?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Barack Obama had this thing he said where somebody was like, would you want to do a third term? And he was like, no, unless I could be literally in my basement in a bathrobe reading policy papers and writing emails and talk through the mouthpiece and have somebody else go out to the rallies. And I think that's kind of what I'm thinking of, right? Is like, he was like, he was very detail oriented. He loved the minutia of governing. But he
also was very good in front of the camera.
He was great in front of the camera, but I think he understood that was subtracting from the value that he could bring to the office, right? For every time he's got to go on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, that's time he's not spending in the situation.
Right.
And I think that, I sympathize with that heavily. I want to spend the last, let's say, 5-10 minutes on patriotic millionaires. There are a lot of folks who will be hearing about this organization for the first time. A lot of folks won't. It's a fairly well-known organization.
And we're at the end of the episode, so cheers to all you guys that have made it all the way to this end.
Absolutely.
Hey, cheers to the listener. Swig of water for the working man. Shout out to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Man, although we would have been at men's during the Attitude Era, because I was WCW all the way. Yeah.
The
Raw.
I love Raw. I'm a Jim Cornette guy. I mean, being from the mountains, Smoky Mountain Wrestling,
NWA, man.
I could listen to Jim Cornette read anything, and it's just infinitely better.
This is a question about patriotic millionaires.
Yeah, we should talk about
Well, the thing that I want to understand is one of the problems, and I alluded to this in the very beginning of the episode, I think it was 2, 3, 4 years ago. We were talking about the name is unique and interesting to me. And what it does is it addresses two things that I see as being fundamental issues that need to be addressed in order for anyone who's not MAGA to build a successful coalition.
Way to bring the plane around, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you.
It's excellent hosting.
Yeah, call me Sully. I land the plane.
5-star review. Hit it on iTunes.
Which is that. And we've talked about the need to reclaim patriotism, but the vilification of wealth also is an issue on the left. A lot of people don't want to vote for Democrats because they see the Democrats as somehow viewing the pursuit of wealth or the arrival of and a place
Same
of
bird,
wealth.
different wing.
Yeah, Democrats hate people who innovate and make money. Right, which is not true.
That's not true. You're right.
Yeah, and it takes about 2 seconds of realizing that's bullshit.
But it's a talking point that is.
I don't know if that's the Democrats more of just the left.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I think we have the nuance to parse those groups.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's where most people go with that. But
Congressman Richie Neal, I can't remember what exactly was it. Richie Neal, who was it? It doesn't matter. No, I think I'm mixing two up. Maybe it was
Richie Torres?
Torres, yeah. Put out a statement and called us like a left-wing extremist group. Now, I'm going to be the first to confess, I am not a socials guy. I got to actually work on getting back into socials.
Yeah, you're like not on social media.
No.
It's great.
It's phenomenal.
I'm jealous.
It's great for my mental health.
I wish
I miss all the big things, and that's okay by me. But I do, knowing where I want to take my career next, I do need to start engaging. But anyway, he called us a left-wing extremist group because of our take on sort of redistributive issues. But we are not a left-wing extremist group. We are just a group of folks who are taking the approach that, okay, government and governance is funded by tax revenue.
Right.
We have created a tax system where the super rich and the very wealthy get away with not paying their fair share into the goods and services provided by government. We need to do something about that. We need to reform the tax code.
I think one thing that's really important to understand about this whole mission is that if you were really an extremist left-wing organization, you would not be looking to preserve our system. You would not be willing because
Definitely
you're
not trying to preserve capitalism.
Well, because the whole argument is, look, if you like this thing, right? I mean, which most Americans say that we've got a good system. We have the freak capitalism is good.
Right.
Now, how maybe we define that in different. What is capitalism is a different conversation. But most Americans don't want a revolution.
That's right.
And
I would agree with that.
And what you guys are doing is saying, look, if you don't want a revolution, these are the changes we need to make.
Fix the system.
So that we can keep this thing humming.
That's right.
Because if we don't make these changes, people will grab their pitchforks.
And the value in what with the Great Economy Project, so I am going into rural places across the country.
Mm-hmm. Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And we have established some cohorts. Our most effective in North Carolina right now is in Columbus County. And I think I shared with you guys our documentary. And I will, please, I've sent that to you, but send that out on all your social
We can
channels.
send that out on our mailing list.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, it's on Amazon, but give them the password for the free.
I was going to ask about the password.
Yeah,
We had okay, cool.
Living wage, send them that, send them all of it. It's for free, whatever, it doesn't matter. And it tells the story.
You're millionaires. You're good.
Yeah,
Send that shit.
I'm not, but they are.
Very important point.
Yeah, and plus our contract is ended with our distributor for the documentary.
So you're off the hook.
So we won't get sued for doing that. It tells a story of the cohort in Columbus County who has come together. I mean, I just brought them up to advocacy for a Raising Wages Coalition Day on Tuesday, where we lobbied for raising the minimum wage. There are two bills right now. House Bill 339 with its counterpart, Senate Bill 326, and then there's House Bill 353. 339 and Senate Bill 326 call for a living wage. Now that's approximately $22 an hour based on the MIT living wage.
That number's not out of nowhere.
That's right, and it's indexed to cost of living. It also has some protections for paid family and sick leave, in addition to raising tip minimum wage. Essentially inflation has already happened.
Yeah.
And the working folks, the working communities in North Carolina are the ones struggling and footing the bill.
Would that bill, man, we should have started with this because I could talk forever about it because I had this long conversation about it. Would that bill instantly, if it passed tomorrow, that means the next day everybody's got to pay $22 an hour?
I think we've set, I think
it's graduated,
bill,
right?
So 353 is graduated.
Because how is Valerio's Pizza going to be able to pay that?
Yeah, and
That's
why it's a long conversation.
Right, so here's my we can't dismantle the administrative state totally, because part of what the administrative state has always done in the history of this country is when forward-thinking policy is passed, helps facilitate. So I think there is, with the way that this new administration has gone, I don't know that it's feasible now, but you have a similar administration, similar to like some of the New Deal agencies that would facilitate, or like a small business bureau that would essentially be the American Economic Agency or American Reform Economic Agency that helps facilitate getting small businesses to a place where they can get a livable wage to their employees. Because you're absolutely right. I think the one hurdle is suddenly this bill goes into effect, and now a small business owner who doesn't have the revenue to pay a livable wage of $22 an hour is now hit with figuring out how to do that or being in violation of state law.
Yeah,
and then
sure.
runs the risk of being sued by their employee. But because we've dismantled the administrative state, which I think these are the larger nerd things that we can nerd out on, we're making it harder to facilitate the execution of good forward-thinking policy that would be to the benefit of the working class. Now, there are additional things within the system that would be phenomenal for the small business owner. If we could reform our healthcare system to where the single biggest expense, typically on the ledger of a small business owner, is figuring out how to pay for their employees' health insurance. If we, expand, Medicaid, if we can figure out a universal healthcare system, and suddenly the employer is not responsible for providing those benefits, and we create a robust government option more than what we've got now, the opportunities are there. Back to your specific question, 353 phases up. I think it goes $10 an hour, 2026, 27, and then I think it's like a $2.50 increase. I think ours becomes effective 2026. So
that's
let's
coming up.
Yeah, I think
there's this is a whole episode.
But the bill's also not going to pass.
It's not going to pass.
That's the thing people need to realize.
But,
this is more of a gesture.
Which goes again, it's a gesture. It's a virtue signal too, which also pisses people off too. Like, why are you trying to put something out there? Because maybe would $15 an hour pass?
No.
I don't know. There's more talk about that.
I don't know.
I think on the right side, more they're starting to understand that.
That's right.
But when you do something like 22, like that seems super extreme.
Let me get real. First of all, shout out to Raising Wages Coalition, North Carolina Justice Center, Claremont Rampley.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes.
Okay, cool. And okay. Let me figure 3 minutes. All right. So our Columbus County group, the Columbus County Deciders. So what we have done with these within the Great Economy Project, the model is essentially this: patriotic millionaires are funding grassroots efforts to get and train and organize, which have roots in organizing the working class to become to rediscover and retake their power, find their voice. We train them up. We talk solely about the need for tax reform and wage reform. We don't touch the hot button divisive issues that have been used for generations now to keep us all arguing with each other.
Not fighting the culture wars.
We're not fighting the culture wars. We only want to talk about money and money in your pocket and how to make your life better and how to demand that your elected representatives and your government be responsive to your needs.
I like it.
So we've got a group in Columbus County. I'm working with a group in Surrey County. We've got folks in Wisconsin. We've got folks in Michigan. And it is a true grassroots from the ground up effort. Simultaneously, there's the patriotic millionaires who are working on federal tax and wage policy issues. So, like I mentioned Bob Lohr earlier, he is a phenomenal. He just had an article come out in the University of Penn Law Review. So I got to weed through that and read that. But remarkably smart guy, and just to learn from him is a true pleasure. Made a fortune as a tax attorney, helping wealthy people get super wealthy, and realized like, holy crap, I'm adding to the
Give
problem.
him my phone number.
Yeah, right. So that's what we're about. We've got the documentary. You can pick up these books online, order them on Amazon.
What's the website? Where can y'all find? You got socials.
That's right. We've got socials. Patriotic Millionaires. I should know the handles, but I don't. Sorry, Erica. Sorry.
Well, just go to Google and type in patriotic millionaires.
Exactly,
There's not a whole lot of you.
That's right.
There's the one site,
and
really.
Erica's a genius marketer. Like, the name is exotic. It gets
attention, makes you think.
Fox News wants to talk about it because they're like, wait a second.
Don't Google exotic patriotic millionaires.
Well, that's good call. At least do a safe search on that one.
Yeah.
That's going to be our OnlyFans one day, Quins.
yeah.
Whenever we
hit million
exactly
status.
when we hit that.
Hey, you got to make a living out here. The wages are low at $7.25 an hour.
And they are.
Yeah,
They
but
are.
we're on
We're
socials.
here. They're free.
We've got an April conference coming up. You can watch that live. We're doing a session on like how to take down the oligarchs. I think that streams on April 7th on our website.
I like that name, Bro Clarks.
Yeah, so we're in the fight, man, and it's been fun. But the name is provocative. Everyone wants to talk to us. MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, like they want to run a press release that says something about these millionaires who want to pay more in taxes.
And look at you on the Holler.
I know, man. This is
Here we
great.
are, man.
This has probably been one of my most fun episodes.
It's been so fun.
Because
I want to come back.
Yes,
Come
yes,
back,
would
yeah.
love to. I think we need to dive
Felt
into more
organic.
politics. It was organic, and it was something that I think people need to see.
This is the thing that I think people like. I'm so glad you said this, Quinn, because I was listening to Fresh Air the other day because I listen to NPR sometimes, and they were talking to this guy was talking about like how the left can win and back, and it was like an hour interview that pretty much came down to you can't only talk about politics.
Yeah.
It was just like there's got to be other things in life.
I mean, we talked about wresling, Ric Flair's ping.
Yeah,
I mean,
we hit it all, man.
we drank some whiskey.
Can I say a few more things before we wrap up? I get on this soapbox too because I do listen to Joe Rogan and I do listen to Theo Vaughn. I
think they're hilarious.
I think they're hilarious.
Yeah.
And Theo Vaughn has mastered his
Hilarious.
shtick.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays the guy that I knew growing up.
Yeah, for sure,
Out on
for
the
sure.
stump in the corner.
Yeah.
They're like,
I watched
just
them
had
on
some-
Road Rules.
oh yeah, phenomenally hilarious and a great personality. There was after like Rogan got torched by some media outlets for whatever thing he said, probably something about
He said the N-word.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that it? Was that the one?
Yeah.
Man, I
Yeah.
didn't know. Oh, boy.
I think
Can't do that.
Theo goes on the podcast and gets Joe to open up about the trauma he faced as a child, particularly he almost getting molested.
Theo?
No, Joe.
Joe.
And so Joe talks about how he became kind
Right.
of a beefhead and
Yeah.
a guy who's super into MMA.
I mean, he grew up in a scrappy Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you suddenly have, I don't know how many, 15 million listeners around the country, around the world, who are generally men walking through their, like the Appalachian region has a deep history of breach, trauma. And
Y'all
issues
seen
with-
some shit.
That's right. And I'm not going to air my personal shit here, but like,
But I cover it up with the Rock poster.
that's right. You have you have these guys who are like having these very sincere man-to-man conversations. You're not you're not going to find Joe Rogan's, like, you're not going to take away from Joe Rogan's audience because he's built a relationship and trust with us, because he's talked about real shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, he's said things that are not great,
Sure.
but he's talked about real shit. I remember the best job I ever had was I was working at an equestrian therapy farm before law school, and I was just taking care of the animals, doing odds and ends, working on the farm. I was like tamping gravel, and he's talking to Kevin Smith about a dog that I think he had to put the dog down or something, but he's crying on the podcast. I'm a grown-ass man at like 28 years old out there. And it's 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, God, I'm tearing up
Silent
right
Bob's
now.
making him cry.
I know. Like,
Well, we need to wrap it up.
yeah.
Jake, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, what a pleasure.
Yeah, and we should have him back. Let's put it on the book.
For sure. We'll bring the whiskey next time. We got plenty
Hey,
for you.
man,
We appreciate it.
We'll get through it.
We got something for him?
Yeah, we do. We have you brought us whiskey, so we're going to send you home with a T-shirt
Oh, hell
from our
yeah.
friends at TS Designs, Alamance County's premier apparel company. Those of you who listened to the Holler before know that every special guest gets a special gift. These are the most comfortable T-shirts, and it's all in North Carolina, South Carolina supply chain. So very much in alignment with the mission and
Carolinas,
values of
baby.
the Patriotic Millionaires. So we're looking forward to giving you that shirt. And Jacob, thanks so much for coming down, man. You drove from Charlottesville, Virginia to be here.
My
so
pleasure.
Folks,
Good
thanks
show.
for listening.
Thanks
Yep.
for listening.
See ya.